start recording just so that other people can jump in and see it. Nicole will jump in. Normally at a workshop, you do have people coming in and out. So this is good practice
Yes.
for when people jump in and out. And if anybody else joins us, I know Tamara can't, but if Ruben jumps in, he jumps in. And if not, just pretend I'm a room full of high school students.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So whenever you're ready, go for it.
Okay. So I'm going to start with just a little bit about myself. My name is Katelin Aden. I've been part of sports pretty much my entire life. I specialized in cheerleading from a really young age, and I just finished actually my 12th year of all-star cheerleading.
Wow.
This year, I continue being an athlete on the ASU stunt team, and I've been coaching for 3 years, and kind of junior coaching and coaching younger kids. And then I was also a triple impact competitor scholarship winner. So that's really exciting that I get to share what PCA does with you guys, because it's a really cool thing. They do a really good job defining a good athlete that doesn't always have to do with stats or things. So that really is exciting. So we're going to talk about triple impact competitors today. As you could assume, there's 3 parts to a triple impact competitor. Yeah, there we go. So the first one is you want to make yourself better. We make ourselves better by using the Elm Tree of Mastery. The second one is we want to make our teammates better, and we do that by filling each other emotional tanks. And the third one is we want to make the game better by using roots and honoring the game. So right now, so we have 2 discussion questions right at the beginning. Since you're alone, you can kind of do this by yourself, but I would have them
pair. Other personality. It's all right.
Yeah. So I would have you pair up. So every time you pair up, or I tell you to get into a group of 2 or 3, I'd want you to switch partners. I wouldn't want you to be with someone twice. So the first question would be, who is a current or former teammate that you admired and why? So if you want to pair up, or if you just want to think about it and then share it just once you're done thinking about it.
Okay.
So.
Do you want me to give you an answer?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So one of the former teammates, I should say, that I admired a lot, her name was Liz Burns, and she was a senior when I was a freshman on the field hockey team in college. And what I really admired most about her was just how much she took an interest in the underclassmen right away. And it wasn't like it was her job to do it. She just, in college, when you get dropped off, you're kind of nervous. And before the first day of practice even started, she came around and visited us in our dorm rooms, and she brought us pizza one night, and we were shocked because she was this big hotshot senior. But also, like, as the season went on, she would just really push us. Like, if it was time, even just to warm up and like have a pass with somebody, she would always pick somebody different every time. And we were all a bunch of like, little rookies that thought the seniors were so cool. And the fact that she just went out of her way to just say, hey, get a ball, let's go hit around, or hey, can I help you with that? Or like, she was just always very, she didn't care that she was a senior and a captain. She was just really going out of her way to make us feel cool. So I thought that was great.
That's great. That's a really good teammate to admire. She had a lot of qualities that a triple impact competitor should have.
Yeah, she was awesome too. She was a great player.
So, and then the next discussion we have is, when you hear the word competitor, what do you think? So I would have them switch partners.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you just want to think of one word, and then, so what I would do is everyone would group up, and then they would talk about it, and then each group would give one like characteristic they thought of.
Okay.
If you want to.
Yeah, I would say, the first thing that came to mind is just beast. Every time I see somebody that's just like so intense, I just think, oh my gosh, they're a beast. So that's probably my first one, just super aggressive, but in the right way. Like not putting anybody down to build themselves up, but just being like super aggressive and just super all over the place is what I think of when I think of a competitor.
Yeah, that's good. When I think competitor, I think of like someone that's just like constantly working hard. Mm-hmm. Like no matter like where they are, they're just like everything they do is centered around their sport. That's just what I think of like competitor.
Yeah.
But there's many ways to think about it. So here we have 4 pictures, So we 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'll have you just hold up fingers which one you think is most competitor-y like. So we have can you see the pictures?
Yep.
Perfect. So whenever you're ready.
I'm gonna say 1.
1. Okay, cool.
But this person over here says 2.
I totally agree with 1. Super, like you said, beast. They looks like they're going for the ball. They're super competitor like. But I feel like almost all of these have the traits of a competitor, because when the second one, a competitor knows they love the game. They're there to play the game, but they're not disrespecting their other teammates. They're all here to play, not teammates, their other opponents. They're here to all play the same game. So they're shaking hands with the other people. The third one is being with your team, winning with your team, losing with your team. You're always together because it's a team picture. And then the fourth one is helping a teammate out when you're injured. And I feel like that's super competitive, like, because you want everyone to be at their full state. So then everyone gets to play at their best. And then when everyone's playing at their best, great things happen. So they're all competitor-like qualities. But the first one is what I would think personally as like super duper competitor, like with the first thing you think of. So we're going to focus today on the first one, making yourself better, which would be the Elm Tree of Mastery. So the Elm Tree of Mastery. So I would have one person just read what the scoreboard definition is. So if you can read it, if you want to.
Yep. Results, comparison with others, and mistakes are not okay.
Yes. So that's what the scoreboard definition means. It means we're really looking at, like I said earlier, the stats, what's actually happening. And then I have a different person read the mastery definition. So if you want to read that.
Effort, learning, and mistakes are okay.
And that's what mastery definition is. So our topic of this was using the Elm Tree of Mastery. And I don't know if you guys caught on to this, but the first 3 letters spell elm for the mastery definition, which is what we want, because you want to be a competitor that's always, when we're looking at results, we want to make sure that we're focusing on the things that we can control rather than things that we want to happen. So I can want this as much as I can, but I only can control so much. So you can control your effort, how much effort you're giving in the game. You can control how much you're learning from the surroundings around you, like during the plays or from your coaches, adapting to your surroundings. And then the third one is when you make a mistake that you have to move on from it. It's okay that you made the mistake, but you got to move on from it. So that's really what we want from a triple impact competitor. Well, one part of it is because we want you to focus on being the best you can on things that you can control rather than just looking at the scoreboard and only getting the most points. You want to work as a team and all those special types of things. So, oopsies, there we go. Okay. So pretty much Positive Coaching Alliance research shows that when you focus on mastery, so they call it a mastery climate, when your whole team is really focused on how much their effort is, what they're learning, and learning how to cope with their mistakes, the anxiety actually goes down and your self-confidence goes up. And that's a really good thing for athletes, especially kids now. So I know you probably don't want anxiety about your sport going before it. I know I don't. And you want to be confident when you go onto the field. You want to be able to look, I know what I'm doing, I got this. And when you focus on mastery, you can be confident because you're only controlling what you can control rather than worrying about what's going to happen in 45 minutes. So, before I go to the next slide, I want to talk about mistakes. So, raise your hand if you have ever made a mistake and during like a really, really important game to you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, keep your hand raised if you have let that affect the rest of the game.
Yeah.
In my entire career of cheerleading, I've made so many mistakes. And so many times I've made mistakes that I let affect the rest of in cheerleading routine. So I let it affect the rest of the routine. And it was just kind of like got worse and worse as it went on. But as I got older, I realized you can't let it affect yourself in a negative way. You just need to move on because you can't go back in time. That's my whole thing. It's like, okay, it happened. You can't go back in time. So we need to really focus on your responses to mistakes. So you can still read it, right?
Yeah, sort of. I know what it says, but.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to start the sentence. So I'm going to start it. And then when I point to the word, I want you to say it with me. So mistakes are.
Actually, I can't see that one. I know what it says. It says like changeable. I'm trying to find it right.
So mistakes are temporary.
Temporary. There we go. Now I have it.
Mistakes are localized.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
And mistakes are changeable.
Changeable.
So we'd all say that together. And we just have to really focus that mistake happened, but we need to know that my whole thing is we need to acknowledge that mistakes happen and that we need to be able to move on from them really quickly. So that's important. So we have our ELM Tree Mastery. So we all know ELM means, stands for effort, learning, and mistakes are okay. So the first one has to do with an effort goal. Can you explain to me what you think an effort goal means?
I think an effort goal just means giving 100% effort.
Kind of. An effort goal would be more something you can control. So while I'm going to give you an example and then I'll explain it a little more. So for me personally, at cheer, I struggled on this tumbling pass. I just struggled with it mentally and physically. But so something I did effort-wise is I made sure I threw it every single time I needed to, whether I landed on my face, on my knees, or on my feet. My thing was I had to throw it. So as long as I threw it, no matter the outcome, my coaches can then give me corrections how to make it better, but I just needed to throw it so I felt more comfortable. So an effort goal is something where you need to do that that makes you totally blanking on words right now.
That's okay.
So an effort goal is like doing something you can focus on in one certain skill to get the outcome you want, but not just focusing on the outcome. That's what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense?
Kind of, yeah. So
like, let me give you another example. So for like a basket, focus on following through with your arm for every shot you make instead of focusing on making the basket.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
So the next one would be a growth mindset. What do you think a growth mindset means?
That you want to grow maybe and get better?
Yes, that's it has to do with kind of learning. So when growth mindset, you're open to new ideas, you're open to getting better and growing as an athlete, and you're open to just learning more about your sport, about your skills. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And the last one is mistake rituals. Do you know what a mistake ritual is?
Nope.
A mistake ritual is something you can do, like either an action or a sound that your whole team makes when you make a mistake. So you acknowledge the mistake with this mistake ritual, and then you move on from it. So examples that some people like to flush toilets. So they like make the figure, like the gesture with their hand and then do the shh toilet. My favorite one is I like to shake it off, and then I jiggle my whole body, representing I'm shaking it off. There's a whole bunch of them, and each team has their favorite, so that makes sense. Do you think that'd be something that would help you?
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks. Mm-hmm. Perfect. That's what we like to hear. Okay, so now you're going to get into another group of two, so someone that you haven't been with, and then you're going to discuss how you view setbacks. So what do you define the word setback is? So you can just tell me, how do you define the word setback?
I think setback is a big mistake that you make that knocks you back a couple games or a couple days or something that you didn't expect that happens. That's bad.
them? Do you think, what do you think of them? So when a setback happens to you, what's your initial thought?
This sucks.
Sucks? Yes. So when we view setbacks, we want to make sure, well, yes, it sucks, but we need to make sure we're looking at the long-term picture. So for example, I like the example of when you roll your ankle. We all know when you roll your ankle, you have to give it time because they don't heal fast, like whatsoever. It's like the most annoying injury in the world. You roll your ankle and you have to take at least 4 weeks off. But people that don't take the 4 weeks off end up hurting their ankle more in the long run than if you would take the 4 weeks off. When we view setbacks, we have to acknowledge that a setback's going to happen. We need to take our time, address the situation, and then keep going when you're ready to keep going. So, because in life there are a lot of setbacks that you're not going to plan for. Injuries, social, you name it, there's going to be a setback. So, and everyone experiences them, whether they're small, big, and so they're important. So what we need to focus on is having grit. Do you know what grit means?
It looks like it means the ability to stay focused on long-term goals in the face of short-term disappointment.
That's perfect. It's like you're reading the screen. So yes, we really need to focus on our grit so we can, like I said earlier, instead of focusing on the short term, what's going to happen short term, we need to focus on the long run. So resting our ankle for 4 weeks is way more important than losing our entire career because we needed to play on our ankle. So, I clicked too fast. And we're going to finish here and with a quote that says, "Failure is not a person, it is a result you do not like." So as a person, you are not a failure. When you fail, it is something that happens to you and you're like, I didn't like what just happened. And you're going to, and it's just a result you didn't like, but it's not you personally as a failure. So I like that quote because no one can be a failure. You only can make fails. That makes sense. So you can't discourage yourself from the failures you make. You have to learn from them. And it comes in a full circle with our effort, with our elm tree. We have to learn from our mistakes.
All right.
So, that's how. If you have any questions or comments,
no, that's great. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And that was only about 17 minutes. Your timing is great.
It was 17 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which is good because when you're in a group with a bunch of high school kids, you're going to be getting more answers and there's going to be time for them to find a partner and all that stuff built in. So it's good to have a little bit of cushion there because something will always go crazy and you'll time. So it's good. It's good. How did you feel doing that one, going from the beginning all the way through the principal?
I liked it. I got stuck on like a few little things, but I think those were just like word phrases that I got stuck on rather than like content.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there anything specifically you were trying to do differently or improve upon that from the first time?
I was trying to make it more interactive than the first time because I know the first time I talked a lot, where obviously I talked a lot this time too, but I wanted you to talk to your peers more. Yeah. Be more interactive. Do you think I did a better job at that?
I do. I think there were definitely more opportunities where you were like, turn to a partner and share. A couple of the tips I have for you, just picture yourself, you weren't in high school that long ago, but if a strange person came in and said, get with a partner, who are you going to pick?
Your best friend.
Right. So then you say, get with somebody new. Who are you going to pick?
Your second best friend.
Exactly. So what I like to do is kind of like force them to be with somebody. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Sometimes just getting them up out of their seats. And I've formed what I call it a fishbowl, where you take like half the room's the inside circle, half the room's the outside circle. So the inside circle faces out, the outside circle faces in, and everybody moves to the right. So you can put on music or just say like, hey, high five, everybody. We're going to do a high five line. When I say stop, that's your partner.
Okay, cool.
So it's almost like you're forcing somebody to be with a partner. So nobody feels weird about it because she's making me be with this person. And it just mixes it up. They don't choose their best friends. Something like that. Some way to, I almost call it like forcing them to be with somebody that they don't actually know. Or sometimes I'll have them pick a partner the first time, and then the second time I'll force them to be with somebody else. Like find somebody that has the same color shoes that you do. Find someone that has
heard that one, like who has the same color hair as you, and
Right.
And then
same color eyes always cracks me up too, because then you get a bunch of high school kids like staring at each other's eyes, which is always funny too. But I just think for high schoolers, anything you can get them up and moving around is really helpful. So I thought that was good. Also, the thing is give them a time limit. That's always really, this is just behavior management kind of things. If you're telling a bunch of high schoolers to discuss something, they don't know if they've got 10 minutes or they've got 2 minutes. So I think if you give them a set, like, okay, I'm going to give you 1 minute to talk about this. And I even have a slide that I can put in, and the slide has a timer on it. Because if you turn to a partner and you say, okay, discuss this, it might take them 5 minutes to be like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. I like your shirt. What are you doing? Your hair looks great. How was your summer? You know, and they don't actually get to what you're talking about. But if you tell them you've got 1 minute, then they'll definitely get
because then they have to share too. And they're like, oh, we actually have to come up with something.
Yeah, exactly. So these are just some tips on like group management. The other suggestion, I think at one point you said like, just call it out, which you were talking about like words for a competitor. And a lot of times I'll bring a ball with me, just like a Nerf ball, and I'll just toss it out, or a beach ball. And I'll say, okay, when you get the ball, just call out a word that describes competitor. Again, it makes high school workshops easier, because if you say, give me an example, you're going to get the same 10 people that are probably sitting in the front row that'll give you all the answers. And then you've got like the dudes in the back that never want to share anything, and you're not going to hear from them at all. So some way, again, to make it okay to volunteer, like if you throw a ball to me, I have to answer, you know, that's just makes it work out a little better that way. I like the way you said, like, hold up a finger from 1 through 4. And again, this is depending on how many people you have in the workshop. But I think for that activity, it's really meant to get people up and moving. So
yeah, I also thought of like, I saw the one in that one video where he did like 1's over here to 4, and then if you're in the middle, thought about doing that one too. So
anything that you can get high school kids up off their feet and out of their seat is great, because especially if, you know, a lot of times we'll say at workshops, you know, put your phones away. You don't need your phones. But if you're sitting in a room and everybody's sitting there at a desk, they're all going to be on their phones, and they're all going to be on Instagram and totally tuning out from what you're saying. So I would say anything to get them up and moving is really, it just gets them thinking too. The other thing too, like just in terms of terminology, the overall theme for this is that we are trying to help them become triple impact competitors. So use that term. A couple times you said like, we want you to be a super duper competitor, which is true, but I would use the word triple impact just so that they get the idea that, you know, you might be really strong in one area, and that's that 4 pictures activity. That's kind of the point of it, that some of you might be really competitive aggressive. Some of you might be really good at caring for your teammates. Some of you might be great at celebrating wins. Some of you might be great at helping someone from another team recover. We're looking at the full picture of what a competitor is, and that encompasses all of those things. So just some wordage for that. Let me see. What else? Oh, I love the question, you know, about control. You brought that up, and that was really good, about talking about this is what mastery is, about what you can control. I always throw it out to them. What are some things you have absolutely no control over in your sport? And just get them thinking about. A lot of times I'll throw that out there, and they'll say the weather, the refs, the other team, the you know, the field conditions. And I'll say, okay, like that's all the things you cannot control. What do most of your teammates complain about on game day? And it's all of those things. Or like, what are the biggest excuses as to why you're not playing well? Well, the weather, the field conditions, the other team, the referee. So it just kind of makes them go, huh, you're right. Like that's, if you focus on the things you can't control, that's going to totally take your mind out of the game.
Yeah.
So, again, asking them, not telling them, just anytime you have an opportunity to get information out of them, and then you can always add to it like you did. And that's why I was trying to give you answers when you were asking me questions that like, I don't know what that is. What's an effort goal? I have no clue. And that's what you're going to get. You're going to get them to go, I don't know. What's a mistake ritual? I don't know. You know? So just, you know, and again, if you ask a question like, hey, who knows what a mistake ritual is? And you get crickets, it's like, all right, then how many of you ever made a mistake? Yep. You'll get everybody's hand up like you did. You asked that question. What did you do immediately after the mistake? And, you know, I've gotten kids up on their feet and I say, what do you do immediately after the mistake? And you'll get half the kids that are like putting their heads down or like going like this. And like, yeah, exactly. So where's your mind? How many of you look up after a mistake and go, all right, bring it on. Let's go. We're getting back. And some people have like said they clap. And this is just from high school kids. This one said one time, like he like hits himself in the head. He's got a helmet on. He played lacrosse. He's like, I literally knocked myself in the helmet and then I'm ready to go. Like, come on, dude, snap out of it.
Yeah.
But he didn't know it was called a mistake ritual. I'm like, that's perfect. So anyway, things like that, just ask them, just pull it out of them as much as you can.
Okay.
Let's see. Having them come up with, let me see what else I had here. Oh, I think the setbacks, again, are really good. Anytime too that you can get them into discussion groups, like how do you handle setbacks, or have them draw on their experience. Think about a setback that's happened to you. And I think setbacks can be individual, or like rolling your ankle, the example that you gave, or they can be team setback. I mean, how many of us go into like postseason thinking that we're going to make it to the next level and they don't? And then it's like, wow, I always say that unless you're the state champion or the national champion, your season's going to end on a loss. So is that really how you want your season to start the next season? So that's a setback that they didn't expect. So bringing in the idea of, the best teams, because we've gotten all this research from the best teams and the most successful players. So I think you did a really nice job, Katelin, at saying like, we don't want you to, or you shouldn't do this. Like you shouldn't focus on failure and you shouldn't focus on all these things. But I think for credibility's sake, there might be kids in the group that are like, well, what does she know? She's only a year older than me. So put it back on, this is what we've learned from the best of the best in sports, that if you focus on the effort, what you've learned, and that mistakes are okay, and you have a mistake ritual, you're going to be ready for the next play. Your performance is going to increase and your performance is going to be better. So I just think that's a little bit more, takes the expertise off of you. You're the expert in the room right now, but it's not making them say like, well, what does she know? You know what I'm saying? Because you'll get people in the group that'll go, well, who does she think she is? But if you put it back on even the mindset, the growth mindset, give credibility. Dr. Carol Dweck has spent her life studying mindset and what makes athletes superior to other athletes. And what she's found is it's their mindset. It's how they look at failure. It's how they look at mistakes. It's how they look at talent. And, when you put it that way, kids are going to be like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that. Like, I didn't realize the difference between a superior athlete and me is my mindset. I thought it was because I'm not 6'6" and a stud, So again, I think it will just help you when you're sharing information. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Nicole, I know you didn't get to see much of that, but thanks for jumping in.
I didn't see any. I'm so sorry. He would call right back then, but I thought I had an hour. So sorry.
Nice. No worries. Well, I'll send you the recording so you can watch.
Okay.
Yeah. So Katelin, I think you're on your way. I would love to see you do another, just to get more. I still would like to see you do more interaction. I want to see get the athletes talking, and not only just talking, because discussion is only one way that there's interaction. There's physical movement. There's standing up, sitting down, role playing, watching a role play, responding to it. All these things will make your workshop so much more fun, and they're going to get so much more out of it. So I really would love to see you challenge yourself. And that we have loads of resources too on different activities and things you can do, but just think of things that, you've been to classes and you've been to probably clinics and things like that. What have you liked that people have done? Because there's some kids that just don't like to discuss stuff. They're just like, I'm so tired of turning to my neighbor and sharing, or they just want to do something. So again, having everybody get on their feet and practice a mistake ritual. I mean, it seems silly, but you'll get half the people that are like snapping it, shaking it, brushing it off, but they're moving and they're thinking and they're doing things. And then just say how that feel. How do you think where would that get your mind? And you even gave the example, like when you messed up in your routine, that ruined the whole rest of the routine for you because your mind was on the mistake of the past. That would be a great opportunity to say, I wish I had a mistake ritual then. I wish my team had something where they could go, hey, Katelin, shake it off, brush it off. Because then you would know, your coach and all your teammates would say, hey, we know you screwed up, but it's okay. We need you to move on. We need you to reset. And if you don't have that from your team and your coaches, of course you're going to be thinking about the mistake you messed up. And then you're going to be making more. So I kind of put it on the team, like the team is responsible for helping the athlete reset from mistakes. And even if you're not the one that made the mistake, it's your job to help Katelin get over hers. So again, just ways you could think of to get people up and moving and thinking and talking.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Yeah. Nicole, did you have any questions? I know you didn't see it, but questions or comments? I just want to give you the opportunity.
No, I don't think so. I liked the behavior management tips that you kind of gave in terms of Katelin, she couldn't be more correct in, they're going, like you said, they're going to be with their best friends, or they're going to be with their second best friends, or they're going to be with their boyfriend if it's a co-ed workshop, or their significant other. And then I like the feedback in terms of giving them a time limit, because especially when you like partner them with someone that they may not know, like we're asking you to partner them with someone they don't know, but then asking you to have them have conversations. Well, now we're opening up a new can of worms, because we want them to be social. We want them to be friends. We want them to get to know one another, but you have 60 seconds, so make it quick. And so just making sure, those are the two things that I didn't watch, but as I heard them, having done a lot of athlete workshops, that's definitely two of the biggest things. And then I don't know if you had one, but we just had a trainer do a tick workshop and really struggled because she didn't have a callback. Make sure you have a callback that you're comfortable with. Just being that you start at the beginning of the session. I don't know, Kelly, if you've talked about that a lot yet, but just to make sure that there's one that you're comfortable with introducing at the beginning and then using often.
So give her an example of that.
So the callback would be like you've asked them to go chat, you've had them talk, and then it's something that you're going to use to get their attention, right? Okay. So it might be at the beginning of the workshop, you're giving an intro and you say, okay, athletes, we're here though to be interactive. We're here to learn from one another. We're going to do a lot of talking. We're going to do a lot of activities. So throughout the day, when I say better athletes, you say better people. Let's try it. Better athletes, better people, and have them do it a couple of times. And then I've done it where then I'll talk a little bit more and I'll randomly say better athletes to see if they'll call back better people in like your first 5, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, just so that they are fully prepared once it's like go time.
Okay. Yeah, that makes.
Yep. And you can also use, like, sometimes I'll find out what their mascot is and I'll ask the partner, like, hey, do you have a chant? Do you have something that you do? So the last workshop I just did, I just said, we are, and they said Wildcats, and everybody got quiet. And it was back and forth, we are Wildcats. So, something to do, because it's amazing how when you get a room full of high school athletes talking and you're like, okay, everybody, like, back to me, time to start. They're like it takes forever to try to get them. And then you lose time.
And middle school athletes are even worse.
Yes, they are. Absolutely. All right. How did your wisdom teeth surgery go?
It went good, actually. It was like 20 minutes. Like, I literally went to sleep at 9:40 and I woke up at 10:03.
Nice. That's great. And you're at school now?
Yeah, I moved in yesterday. So I'm in like little tutoring rooms right now.
Congrats.
That's awesome.
That's exciting. As I told her last week, before that, I'm dropping off 2 of my daughters. I dropped off one already. I have another one on Thursday. So I totally hear you where you're at. And I'm impressed that you were able to fit this in and do this, Katelin.
Yeah, I woke up early.
Well, thank you. Well, let me know. Again, I'd love you to do maybe e-tank, filling emotional tanks, or honoring the game. I don't think you need to do, well, you could do both if you want to, but I'd like you to do at least one of those next to see how you handle a principal. Again, just really focus on getting those athletes to keep, talking, moving, interacting would be great.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Nicole, thanks for joining.
Sorry. Thank you.